Hey everyone, welcome back. Mindset Explosion, season number 4, episode number 9. And tonight, very excited, we're joined by a lovely Wendy Brumwell, professional figure skater since the last 20 years. You think professional, you said, but skating since the age of 7. So really excited to have you on, Wendy. Obviously, we're part of the same mastermind, and we're kind of following some similar ventures. So really interested to find out, how the mindset of, professional athlete really, and how that's, how you've evolved that and then put it into your own everyday life and, into your business, and you're financially quite free as well, just through, all the different things you've been doing over the many years. So many years, the little years, sorry. So so I think my mum was excited to watch this one tonight, Wendy. She used to do a lot of skating when she was young, living in Nottingham. So that was her thing. Not to your standard. Not that I know of. She didn't tell me if that's the case. But,
yeah.
So how did you get?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, how did you get into skating? How did you get what? What I want to do skating. How did that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. And thank you, Matt, for having me on this evening, having me on your podcast. It's really much, it's very much appreciated. So thank you. Yeah, so I got into figure skating mainly because I tried lots of sports when I was younger and I had a lot of asthma. And there were so many sports I just didn't like. And I'll be honest, I just wasn't very good at. That's the funny part about it. And then I saw figure skating on TV. So I saw Torval and Dean skating around. And probably like most kids my age, and then pestered the hell out of my parents, especially my mum. She was really scared about me falling over and chopping my finger off and all those things. She was busy telling me that, that might happen to me. But no, I was very determined, and in the end, she took me skating, and that was it really. It went from there. It kind of went from, like a Saturday morning course to then getting up at 5 in the morning and being on the ice for 6. Yeah, I was very dedicated, and I used to wake my mum up with a cup of tea at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, bless.
Lucky mum.
Yeah, lucky mum, definitely. So you found your what a great age to find the thing that you're so passionate about, really. And so do you feel that as you were growing up, did you think you had that determination mindset before then, or do you think finding something that this is the one I want to do, and do you think it kind of grew as you went?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it's about having something you're passionate about, because that does, I think, make a difference to what you get up for in the morning.
Yeah.
But also, I think what's happened in my childhood has fed through to my business life. Sometimes without me realizing, I've only really looked and researched this and analysed it later on in life when I've been doing my business. And I've realised that the ability to get up in the morning, know what my vision is, my reason why, all those kind of things were kind of embedded a little bit earlier on, and they were part of my life quite early on. And so then I've almost just carried that forward into my business, and making sure that I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it, that I've got the vision ahead of me, all those kind of things to just, keep me moving forward and keep driving me forward. And I think that's where it's been great. It's been great for discipline as well, goal setting, and even rejection, and even failing and lessons learned, and to literally kind of I'd fall over and have to get back up. And it's a great analogy now in business, because it was literally I'd have to get myself up off the ice, try and figure out what was wrong and then go again. And I think, I often approach business in a similar way, where it's like, well, that didn't go well, but, what can you learn, change a little bit and then move on and allow that to help you going forward. So I think there's some of the things that I think that I've carried forward from that kind of lifestyle. and another big one is routine, just like having the habits and the routine. And I know you know this from, you know, with your martial arts training, that you know, having the routine to fit everything into your life is really important, and it makes you value your time and what you spend where. So bit of a lot there.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. That's got me thinking, actually. And actually, I think sometimes when we look back, I just hear, you know, you talk. I'm having some of my memories coming back,
Yeah,
adult and child and things like that. And it's amazing. And you know, when you said like you fall down and having rejection, it's a horrible feeling. Some, you know, being rejected and
yep,
kind of, it's quite a horrible negative feeling. But actually, we need it, right? We need that, because otherwise we think everything's so perfect, and then because it's going to happen at some point, we're going to fail, we're going to fall over, it's not going to go our way. So we kind of need it early on, I feel, as best as
yeah.
we can, right? You know, not something drastic, but not. But so, was there any in terms of some of the things maybe you were practicing for performance? Was there anything you can remember that it was like, what was the most difficult thing? Was there like a routine? It's just that was a killer. And what happened with that? Did you get there in the end? Thank you, Ivana.
Got a few comments coming in. So, do you mean if I had, say, like a bad performance and how I might recover from something like that? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's
Something
one thing. Yeah, so if
yeah.
there was like a
Okay.
routine you were practicing and training,
Yeah.
like that was particularly challenging, how did
Yeah.
you you know, break through it? If there was a barrier, if there was like one that was just, oh, this is just
Yeah.
as hard as anything, did you have anything like that? And then of course, if you know, in the actual event.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think I'd often come across something that was what was challenging, and quite often, actually, it's about what's going on in here.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not about your ability; it's about what you think you can do and how much you believe in yourself. And that's when that the mindset, I think, is so important, because you know almost what you believe you achieve, and to have that ability to kind of, you know, get through those tough times. It's all about how mentally tough you are, I think, to try and keep coming back and overcoming that. And I don't know, I've had disastrous performances, you know, literally where I've just had jelly legs or something, and you know I've just been on the ice the whole time. I think I remember going to Scotland actually and competing up there, and I was so embarrassed because it was just terrible. But the great thing about it was that when I looked at that performance, it was a case of the way it made me feel. I was like, I really don't want to feel like that again.
Yeah.
You know, what happened that made me feel like that? And when I fed that forward into my next performance, it really improved. And so in a way, I was really grateful I had those difficult times, because they fed into better times and they become the biggest learnings. And I think, again, relating that to business, sometimes your biggest challenges, and I think some of your darkest moments, are where you get the biggest breakthroughs. And I think exactly the same in sport. You know, there were the times you were really low and you thought, you know what, I don't want this to happen to me again. And so that was, I would probably say, something that I carried forward. Another great learning to, because it is easy, I think, to sometimes get down a rabbit hole with stuff like that.
Yeah, it can. And sometimes it's good to get down the rabbit hole for a little bit,
Yeah,
but depending what's going to come out. If
yeah,
Ivana's watching, thank you, Ivana. So I think we talked about the lot with Ivana the other day, like the lobster, where it goes and hides under a rock sometimes, and it's got to soften up the shell. It's very vulnerable, but when it comes out, it's
yeah,
because it's growing. So it's growing. It comes out from the rock, and it's bigger and it's
yeah,
stronger.
yeah,
So we do these things, and I think when I was younger, it took me a long time, I think up to adult life, to realize that actually all the things I'd failed at, they were so important. And you know, when you talked about rejection, you know, dealing with rejection is now is like, well, I've got nothing to lose. You know, me and you were working on we're on a mastermind together, but we're also kind of taking a similar path with what we want to do with our, you know, growing our businesses, right? and it's a bit it's a
Yeah.
bit daunting, but it's exciting at the same time. And I feel like, you know, I'm growing already in such a short space of time from it. So it's amazing, like how, you know, it is important. And then how, so it sounds all a bit doomy gloomy, but like how did you, you know, when, how did you, you know, when you had like those great performances, like how did you visualize that happening? You know, how did that work to get, you know, what you wanted and to come back feeling, yeah.
I love that you brought this up, because visualization is another, I think that's just a superpower, and really underestimated, I think, in the power of visualizing something. I don't know if you feel the same way about that, Matt,
I
but
did, yeah.
I think it's so key. And yeah, I used to visualize doing things on the ice and how I was doing them, how it would feel, what was I hearing, seeing, you know, it's just like you were there, not that you could actually even see yourself um doing a particular move or jump or whatever it was, but also actually feeling that you were there doing it. And it's funny because this has come around in quite a few ways, actually. And in property investing, for example, something I talk about quite often with people, and sometimes mentees as well, is that actually when you walk into a property, and it's so easy to see what is in front of you, like a damp, dark, dirty house that doesn't look good. But it's actually taking the time to visualize what you think it could look like and having that vision. And so on a granular level, you can do that with property, but also you can take it on that much bigger, wider level, can't you, with visualizing what you want to achieve in life, um, and seeing what that looks like to you, can't you? So I think there's so many ways you can use visualization, you know, in any business and in your life, to kind of see what you want to achieve and understand really what that feels like.
And do you feel with that visualization, and for myself, there's been times when, you know, definitely times when I really got in, dived in it, and the end result was pretty much how I visualized it, if not better.
It's funny you say that as well, because I think sometimes things turn up a little bit differently.
Mm.
I don't know whether you've found this, but I think sometimes with your visualizations, you have to be quite specific. That's what I've learned over the years. Because sometimes you get something, I've sometimes got something a little bit different. I've
Different in a
almost
good way?
achieved it, but in a slightly different way. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of something I didn't expect. But you know, not such a bad thing, but just different to
Oh,
what I expected.
yeah. So, yeah, I think I know what you mean. So, do you feel like you end up, you can kind of take a different path, or but it's still good? Is that what you mean, or just
Yeah,
something more
I
is
get it.
more than you expect? Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Like if you said to me a year ago, I'd be buying a business. Oh, get out of town. I've got the money.
You
So
don't need money.
yeah, exactly. You don't need money, as we found out. Yeah, I thought to grow my business, I would have to, you know, open up another place, and obviously that was never going to be the right time last year. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're going off on some different. So in terms of your professional skating, was that your career, or did you have was that more? It was like the hobby, but sport, or how was what was happening before you got into property?
Yes, it's a bit of both, really. So, was also a career as well as a hobby, I would say. So I did go to university. So I studied computer science at university. So I used to be getting up at 4 in the morning when everyone was drunk, coming back from the pub, and I was going off to the ice rink, either to train or I would be teaching. So I used to teach young athletes. So there was a bit of a mix there, and then I do the corporate lifestyle as well. So I worked in telecoms as a project and program manager for Verizon, and less well known, but I worked at Vodafone, which I think nearly everybody
Yeah, we wrote about
knows. So I did the corporate for a bit, but property actually came up when I was studying. So when I was at university, my landlord, he had this what you'd call a student house share, and I didn't even really know what it was at the time, but I was a little bit late with my rent 1 month and went to his house and basically found out a little bit about what he did. So I paid my rent in cash back then, because I think that was the way of doing it. Not so many rules and regulations. But then he had quite a nice house, and apparently he had 20 of these house shares around the university. And so I just quizzed him a little bit, not too much, but a little bit, about what he did and how he did it. And then I just remember going back to my room at the time and setting up this spreadsheet and thinking, wow, this looks good. Something I'd quite like to do.
Yeah.
And that was basically what started me off. So I started saving my student loan at that point, because it was essentially a bit of cheap lending, really, wasn't it? Because you used to get a good rate on it. So I started saving back then, with the idea that one day I would get into property.
Wow. So it was that the chance of that. It seems funny, isn't it? Something can be a bit like worrying if you haven't, if you missed rent or something, and you've turned that event has changed your life, really.
Yeah, and I think I was really concerned at the time. I think that's why I went round to the guy's house, because it was almost just like a panic. And I'd been living in this house for a while, and I was so devastated that I'd missed my rent payment and ran around to the house with all the money, just like, I'm really sorry. And so that actually, something good came of that, and that was great. And if that hadn't have happened, I don't know, I might have ended up on a similar path. But I think I was grateful for that, because it showed up in my life and changed things a bit. So
Brilliant. So then 6 years ago you decided, is that right? Is it 6 years ago you decided to stop work? Well, it's not, but and now this is the thing is like property investment. Yeah.
I've been so actually, you saying 6 years, it's really weird, because I have 5 years in my head and I just don't know why. But yeah,
This
6
last year's a bit of a blip, so yeah.
I think I forgot about the whole COVID year, and so that's all just gone, and I just seem to think it's 5 years. But yeah, you're correct. To be fair, it was January 2015 that
I did my homework, see?
well done you. You know more than me.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, January 2015.
Yes, financially independent. So basically, I just got to a point where I was working a lot in evenings and weekends doing property investing, and I got to a point where my salary was getting matched with property.
Yeah.
And I'd also saved up a little bit of a buffer, I guess, just in case something went wrong. So I did cover myself quite a lot. I wasn't one of those that just leapt straight into property investing and then crossed my fingers. I did kind of stage it out. But in that kind of couple of years, it was quite hectic, because I was teaching, which I love doing, and so I was teaching in the mornings, I was working, and I was doing property. So it was a crazy couple of years. I'm exhausted just thinking about it. But since that time, it's been great. I've enjoyed the property journey. It was one of the best things that I've done. And yeah, it allows me to have a good lifestyle and financial freedom, which is great.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. And I think it sounds like you've just been so busy for pretty much all your life. So I think you deserve to take some sort of time out, really. But I get, do you find like how do you relax then? Like, do you find you can relax, or do you feel like you've kind of got that into your routine?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'm not very good actually at relaxing.
Me either.
I just want things going on, and
Mm.
when work wasn't there anymore, I still filled the time up with something else, growing my business. in a different way. And now I help other people invest in property as well. So taking all the lessons, the knowledge I've got, to try and help people, they're in 9-to-5 jobs, either get financial security or financial independence from property. And so there's always been a bit of a growth and the next thing and something else to aim for, the next goal. So I think I find it hard, I do, to relax. And sometimes I think I'd love a holiday where I just sit on the beach, read a book and have a cocktail. And what happens in that situation is that I have done this before, and I'm like 2 hours maybe on the lounger, and then by that time I'm bored. I think, right,
Yeah.
okay, what are we going to do next then? I need to go out, I need to go do something. So one thing I do is I do like to keep fit. I do a bit of meditation, and I do running and things like that, and walks with the dog. And I find they're my kind of time out, that I enjoy my own space. But yeah, apart from that, I don't watch much TV. But that's been part of my childhood. My mum was basically, with the TV, she'd often say to me, well, Wendy, what is the TV? How is that moving you forward?
Yeah. You seem very, I can't remember when I met you, it was a few weeks back, on the mastermind, but you do come across very calm, very relaxed. Yeah, very balanced actually. And
thank you.
yeah, and I think it's important to say, because obviously, some people could look, Wendy's on the go all the time, but I feel like you seem to have got that balance just right. And you're doing a self build at the moment. That must be bloody stressful in itself, but and you're kind of recording your journey a bit on Instagram with that. Is that right? Yeah, tell us. So what is that something you've always wanted to do, like a self build, you and your husband, or?
Yeah, that's been part of the vision board. So I'm on vision board number 2 now, but my first vision board, the self build, was there. So one day we'd like to build this house, and we had a picture of it. And again, it's slightly different, I would say, to what we're building, but the concept was there and the idea was there, right? So yeah, basically I think it's about 2 years ago we started looking for land. It might have been a bit longer, the time goes, but he was trying to find the right piece of land as well. And that's something I noticed a lot different from property investing, is that property investing is very much about the numbers and the business case, the area, the location, all those kind of things. And you look at your business case and you say, well, does this make sense? You do your due diligence. If it all adds up, great. If it doesn't, then you don't do the deal. But when you're doing a self-build and it's going to be for you and it's personal, there's another element there, because you've got emotions. And then with emotions comes, well, you want that perfect piece of land and you want this perfect house. And that was I think that is what made finding land and designing the self-build more tricky, because you had all of that emotion and personalization around it you just don't get when you invest. And so that's been a journey into itself. But actually the upside to it is that when we're putting kitchens and bathrooms in the rental properties, we choose a certain one that makes sense and is right for our target market, and is going to be hard wearing, all those kind of things. This is the first time I think I've chosen a kitchen and a bathroom that we really like. So that's been the upside. But I mean, there's so many upsides to doing a self build, as well as so many challenges. So it's a very balanced thing, I think, that you almost get you get challenge and then you get success, and it's often hanging in the balance with the self build, but exciting.
Yeah, it does sound exciting. So have you got a target date when this will finish?
People ask me that often. I used to say when we finish building, but which is pretty much what it is. But I think we're trying to aim for July, August if we can. That would be great if we could get in by then. So fingers crossed. We're working away, trying to make that happen. So yeah,
Yeah.
it would be great if we make that happen.
I mean, it sounds. I mean, with everything that you're doing at the moment, have you been able? Have you been able to continue skating? Or, I mean, do you still skate teach when there wasn't COVID? What? How did that affect your skating?
Yeah, COVID has affected skating quite a lot. So a lot of the ice rinks have been closed. So I haven't been doing anything for a little while in coaching. So I'm gonna have to see what happens when everything gets a little bit more back to normal, and picks up again. But I think they've opened rinks now to the more elite skaters. So I think things are starting to open up a little bit more. But for a long time, it really was a nightmare, I think, for not just figure skaters, but all kinds of athletes that couldn't train during this time. So, and it must have been, I couldn't imagine what that was like, would be like as a, if I think back to my days, missing a training session to me was like one of the worst things in the world. When I think some of these guys, they're aiming to get into, big competitions, and they can't train. But I think things are starting to open up a little bit there, where they can, proper elite athletes can then train at certain rinks. So
Yeah, I guess because everyone got affected as we know, but when they've put so much hard work, dedication into that, and I guess it's like that's a year out. It's a year out, and I know it's everyone would be in the same position, but for some, I guess with the Olympics, it'd be a
yeah.
shame if some missed out just because of that this 1 year when they might have been all set for them anyway. I don't want to go on that path right now.
Yeah, oh, I know. It's such a big blow because, everything was cancelled
Mm,
last year. But then, what can you do at the end of the day? I think, health does have to come first. I think
yeah,
we all get that.
yeah.
But it's just, I think, so harsh for, some of the youngsters out there that absolutely love their sport and can't go and train and practice. So it must be really challenging and hard for them.
But I
So
guess with the other stuff that you're doing, Wendy, is really inspiring because you are a pro skater. You've been through that training from a young age. Like you said, you went to university and you talked about vision board, and I think just saying it, and then the fact that you're now building you're on your second one, so you must have achieved, obviously pretty much everything else on the first one. It might, some of it obviously carried over maybe with the house, but when we do things like that, when we do visualize, and we believe in ourselves, and we get back up, and we take some rejection, and then we have those moments, and we reward ourselves. It's all part of having that mindset onto the things that we want, and it's not a smooth ride, but it's an exciting ride, and
yeah.
it's so rewarding at the end. And do you feel there's a point when you stop with the things that you want in terms of a vision board?
I think for me, it's always evolving, and I think it's almost that it's what can I say, more like a living vision board.
Mm.
Because I think sometimes even when we set ourselves goals, one of the problems in there is that we sometimes have this relationship with goals that we worry we're not going to achieve them.
Yeah,
But at the same time, if they're living and evolving and changing, it sometimes takes the pressure off a little bit, doesn't it? And I think with visions, we change and things happen. And sometimes, I don't feel bad if, for example, I've got a vision on my vision board and I want to change it and I want to make it different, I change it. And I
I
think
like
sometimes we refresh and update,
that.
and just life's flexible. Because sometimes I do think we get so like hung up otherwise, don't we? That we've got to achieve this and we've got to get to here. And I talk about this quite a lot when I'm doing speaking at property events, and vision boards come up a lot. We talk about this topic quite a bit, because I think people realise the value of it, but maybe they don't always do it. or they don't know how, or they're worried that if they do it and they don't achieve it. But at the same time, if you've got a vision board and you make something up, it's fun to do, number one. And number two, when you've got it on your wall and you're looking at it every day, the subconscious is really just, taking that all in, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I love what you said, is that how it evolves, because and the great thing is you're setting, by doing it, you are in, I know, I see what you're saying as well. It's like you're setting a big goal, right? But it's setting you, really, it's on a path to something. You're going to be onto a path of achieving something around there, and it will evolve anyway. It does. I remember, as I probably talk about this every now and then in my lives, Wendy, but I taught a young lad. Well, when he started me, he was a young lad, and he was very shy, very unconfident. Came in, he was crying a lot of the lessons, and we persevered. He got through it. Then his confidence built up. Got onto our demo team when we had one, and we talked about goal setting. He said, "I'm going to get an Oscar. I'm going to go on and get an Oscar." That was his thing. I thought, crikey, oh my God, he was like, he went into acting, drama or whatever. Anyway, he's not got an Oscar, but now he's got a job working within drama at a private school in London. He came and told me a few years back. So his dream, his vision evolved, but had he not set himself on that path, he wouldn't be doing it. He said, "It's my dream job." And he said, "Yes, it's changed. That's maybe not for me now, but until, we set," and I think Grant Cardona's, the 10X rule, you set something so big, even if you fall short, it doesn't matter. You're not falling short. It's just going to evolve. It's going to change. But like you said, I love it. Put it in your head and then just keep reviewing it, isn't it? So, and do you feel, I want to come on to your coaching in a bit and your book, but as try and cram it in, we ran over a bit, but it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So you're looking to buy a business at the moment, similar to myself. Now, was that part of your plan last year? Is that something, like, for me, it just came up and I'm like, oh, I love that. Yeah, that's I'm going to do that now. And I've redefined my purpose, and I feel that is much more in line with where I am at the moment, and where I want to be, as opposed, I was thinking of doing some other stuff, but which I'd be happy doing, but this is the one I want to focus on at the moment. So did that fit in with, how did that fit for you?
This is an interesting one, actually, because this is an example of something that I hadn't planned in this particular way.
Me too.
So here you go. So I think at some point, I had in my head that I'd like to have an estate agency, or I think actually it was a letting agency. I correct myself there. I had the idea of having a letting agency, and there was the thought of starting it from scratch.
Yeah.
And the thought of that was just, wow, that's a lot. And I was busy thinking about, what would that mean and how would that look? And when I started having those thoughts, that's when the concept of buying a business came up. And so that's something that, came along that was slightly different, but answered my question in terms of, actually, you could acquire or merge, because we manage all the properties in our portfolio, ourselves. But I didn't necessarily want to start all of this from scratch.
Yeah.
And so that was when the opportunity presented itself, where it was a case that it was slightly different. And I had written down, interestingly enough, this is a part of my first set of kind of, statements, was, to have a lettings business. And that's slightly different, because now I've expanded it a bit more. And it's, again, turned up in a slightly different way to what I expected. And so we were looking now for it to be a more of an estate agent and to acquire the business, a bit like similar to yourself. And it seemed to make so much more sense. And, a little bit not so easy to do. I don't think it's easy by any stretch, because, you've done so much work on there. It's a big well done for what you've done in that area. So there is some work involved, but it's more appealing, and I think, for me, a better option to acquire and merge rather than start right from the beginning.
It is hard to start from the beginning. I think the thought of me going through all that, and I don't really want to be hands-on involved like I was before. I'm a weathered. I'm only 25. Look, I wish.
You're not a day over, Matt.
Yeah, I
Actually,
wish.
you're
Yeah.
not 21, so I think I want you at 21,
At
right?
heart, I don't even think my heart is anymore. No. Um, but yeah, I just no, I don't. No, but I've enjoyed the process part. But anyway, that's me. I want to back onto you. So the coaching that you're doing as well. How long have you been? So obviously you're an experienced coach because you've been coaching skating. You've got the mindset of a professional athlete. And from a young age dealt with like we said, the rejection and the elevation, the visualization. You've put that then into business, and now you're again, it's like this is all coming together, and you're coaching people into investing into the property market themselves. How long have you so have you been doing that for the last 6 years as well? Is that a newer thing? Where does that fit in?
Yeah, that's more recent. So I'd say since 2019.
Yeah.
So I've been, I suppose, consulting, coaching, mentoring, up and coming investors for a couple of years now. I focus with ladies actually, and it's been quite rewarding helping ladies in property. I have had men as well, but it has been predominantly ladies, and maybe that's because it's resonated a little bit more with me, and my journey. But yeah, just helping people to basically do something similar to me, but just start their journey in property investing, and perhaps just, take those first steps that might seem a little bit scary, and also just to get the knowledge. I think it's a bit of a combination. I often focus on the why, and I suppose the getting the mindset first before then figuring out the how do I do this and getting the knowledge, because without that, where's your drive coming from and where's your reason for what you're doing? So often I take that step back based on my background, and often that shapes what people want to do in property. So we do that first and then just move on to working out, well, how do I get from where I am now to where I want to be in property? And then yeah, putting that plan in place, and doing a little bit of hand holding and accountability, and knowledge transfer to help people do that. So yeah, I've been doing that for a couple of years, and then I've recently teamed up with a fellow property investor, to run some getting started in property courses as well. So we formed a company, Objective Property. And yeah, we're helping people online at the moment. We did have a lovely hotel in Bath planned and thought, oh, this would be amazing. But we're doing it online. And the good thing about that, though, is we can make it a little bit of better price. And people don't have to travel. So, there are some upsides to being indoors and
Yeah.
learning. You can just sit or be wherever you want. You can sit in your slippers and learn. You don't have to go anywhere. But yeah, I think we'll be looking to get a little bit more face to face once COVID's over. So that's what it's evolved into. Basically, is just starting now to help people on their journey.
No, brilliant. And I just feel being a coach myself, through martial arts, fitness, and some even the mindset stuff. I just know that anyone that is under your mentorship is just gonna, do so well. I just feel like it can't be easy teaching figure skating. To be honest, it's sometimes tricky enough teaching kids with martial arts. So I think you must have a lot of patience for that, and to be able to see something and create something, and then take that same aspect into your own personal property portfolio, and now to be able to transfer that over. So I know anyone that's with you is gonna. So if you're watching, and please, and by the way, what I wanted to ask is, who's that for? So you said you seem to have mainly female, but is it a certain age range? Do they need savings? Who would, like, someone's thinking, I'd love to do that, but we start telling ourselves how we can't do it. Like, who would that be for?
Yeah, so I focus more on people who have a similar background to me, like in a corporate world, and want to get started in property. Perhaps they, would like to get security or something to hand over to their family. And one of the biggest objections there is money, because people think, well, I'm going to invest in property, I need a lump sum. And in some cases, yes, but you don't have to have that. So there are ways to get finance where you don't necessarily need all of the money up front. And there are strategies that you can use as well where you don't necessarily need a lump sum. So it is a lot more accessible than people think. So some of those objections in terms of money. I think the other thing is it does feel quite a big thing to do, because let's face it, property does cost a lot of money. You're parting with quite a bit of money when you buy a house or something, and so sometimes that's not a small thing. And I think that's where mindset does kind of kick in, because it does feel quite big, of a big jump. So yeah, I help people come out of the corporate life and to either go into property full time or get financial security. And yes, I am keen to help the ladies, just because that resonates a little bit more with me. But yeah, that's more on, I suppose, on a one-to-one. So
No, brilliant. I love it. And also, me and you and our team, we've been on Clubhouse a few times, the House of Entrepreneurs. I'm not sure when our next one is, but I've absolutely enjoyed that. So how have you found doing that in Clubhouse? Because it's quite a new experience, really, isn't it? So
yeah, it is, isn't it? I think it's been twofold for me. I think I've enjoyed it from the perspective that I've learned loads from other people, but equally, I've helped people as well in Clubhouse from doing
yeah,
rooms. And that's the thing. I think I do thrive, maybe even from a figure skating days, of like helping or teaching or giving knowledge over, and then seeing people succeed. There is an element of I don't know.
it's a need, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
it's a need of mine. I have
yeah,
to give, yeah. And I love
yeah.
when I see people,
It does feel
go
good,
on.
doesn't it? It's a bit selfish in a way. I've actually been thinking that as I've been here, because it actually makes you feel good.
But
You know?
that's life. We're all selfish. We
Yeah,
got to
it's
put our own
selfish.
mask on first. It's part of
Yeah,
my mental health. So, and if
yeah.
I'm feeling good, I can help more people. So it's a win-win. Everyone
It
wins.
is
Win-win.
a win-win. Yeah, and it's like that episode of Friends, isn't there? There's not a selfless deed,
I don't
but
watch
you
Friends. I
do
said that.
actually you feel good about it. But yeah, seeing people succeed is great. And I think from Clubhouse, it's a great community. And I've sometimes treated it a bit like having the radio on as well, when you've just been listening in, just to get knowledge and to reach people that previously you wouldn't have been able to talk to. So that's been fantastic. How have you found Clubhouse? Have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, I have. I've tried not to let it consume my time, because everyone was saying that.
Yes,
So I
yes,
have real tried to control. Even you guys did the room on Friday, and I was so tempted. I was like, I want to be in the room with you guys. I want to be moderating. And I'm like, no. My sons are here. This is my time, because I've done that a couple of Fridays. I wish we could just change the date, but anyway, that's another story. So I had to kind of force. That was really difficult, because I enjoyed it when when the times we've done that. And like yourself, I've had it a bit as a radio. So when I've had my youngest living with me. He was here for quite a bit, for a couple of weeks. So when I was taking him to school, we'd have that on. He'd be telling me to turn it off. I was like, no, you're going to listen. And then there was like a speed connecting one. I don't know if you've been in that one. It's Breakfast for Winners or whatever it is. And
I've
they
heard
did
of
the
it.
speed yeah. And I'm like, oh God, I've got to remember him when I get home and send that person a message. So I've got a few people, I think, invited on as a guest. So yeah, it's one of them things. I'll have it on for a bit, try and absorb, get some information going in, make sure I'm in the right room and around the right people, which generally is our half the time is someone from our crew is in there. So
Yeah.
so it's a bit like that with me. And then the weekend I'm trying to switch off a little bit from that. But we're gonna have to wrap up, Wendy. But you've got a book coming out. What's it about? When's it out?
Yeah, good question. I've literally just finished writing it, and just it's going through the editing process. So it's basically based on my talk that I've been doing, mainly last year at property events, and I've been using the talk to get feedback and grow what's in it. So it's basically mindset principles that I've taken from being in professional sport that I've applied to my property business. And it's just got exercises and templates in there to try and help people, for example, do their vision boards, right? Put a business plan in place, put routines in place, get resilience, those kind of things. There's quite a lot in there, but basically I've just taken all the knowledge that I've got and the feedback that I've got last year. I think I spoke about 18 events last year, and I've used that to put it all in the book, and hopefully give people something that they can use to help them. It's mainly property focused, but to help them in their property journey. But with most of the things in there, I think you could apply it, as I was saying to you earlier, I think you could apply it to business, entrepreneurship. It's really quite generic to all that kind of stuff. So later on this year, my book will be out. I haven't got a date yet. So, but yeah, back end of this year, I should have it launched. So
Brilliant. And just one last thing, 5 years from now, where are you at?
Where am I at?
I've asked this question before. Come out, yeah.
You did spring that on me. So where am I at? So I'll be living in my self-build.
Yes.
Yes, that will be so good. I would have bought, so I'd like to acquire 2 estate agents. That's my idea this year. So I will have those. I'd like to do another development project. So I'm doing a development project this year. So I would have done that already. And then I will have done another one as well, because I'd like to do another one because I love them. I keep kind of going back from the commercial to residential and the development projects just because they're my favourite and I get the most out of them. So I'd have done a couple of those as well. So yeah, and where would I have visited? So I usually put a destination. I might have to look at I'm just gonna have to look at my vision board up here. So what have I got going on? I think the Taj Mahal. I have the Taj Mahal.
Oh, nice.
So I'll pick that one up. I'd have gone to the Taj Mahal. How about that?
Oh, I like it. Yeah, yes. Brilliant. And own all of Bristol.
Yeah, and I bought up all of Bristol in the process as well.
Brilliant.
And I think also, just one little thing to add to there, I'd have liked to have impacted on, say, 100 people's lives to be able to become financially free from property investing.
I think it'd be more than that, but yeah, that's brilliant. Wendy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We have gone well past over the thing, but no, it's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing, your journey. And guys, if you're watching, please, if you want to get in contact with Wendy, just again, a private message, is that okay? DM you?
DM me, yes, absolutely, on Facebook. I will get back to you. So yeah, just DM me anything you want to talk about regarding what we've chatted about tonight. That would be fantastic.
Brilliant. And drop Wendy a follow, because especially on Instagram, you get to see just on the platforms. Just follow everywhere. What's the problem?
I should say that, shouldn't I? Instagram, follow
us. Come on. And hopefully we'll both might check you if you're on Clubhouse. I'm sure we'll be doing a room some point next week. But thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you all next week. Wendy, thank you so much. Bye everyone. Peace, love, always.
Thank you.